Hi, it's me, Joyce. Just talking, just singing. And I just had a really interesting conversation with my cousin who is in his 60s, and I'm, of course, 67 years old. So I've seen a lot. I was born in the middle of the last century. And when I listened to stories as a child from my grandparents and my great grandmother about what times were like in 1900, 1910, even 1920, 30s, 40s, whatever, before I was born. Times were very different then, and we went through a huge transition. Late 1800s, early 1900s. Transitioning from the older way of life into a more modern era, the 20th, bringing us into the 20th century, and all the changes that came with that. They were so drastic. I mean, there were people who didn't want to get on a train because they thought if it went too fast, this was back in the 1800s, that it would suck the air out of your lungs, or with the horseless carriage, who was going to give up their horse and cart? And the businesses and the people who didn't change at that time were left behind, really and truly. And we're at a place like that again. Yeah, 100 years later. Here we are in 2023. And a lot of people are saying, well, look, it's the collapse of our society, collapse of the financial institutions. When you see thousands of bags of luggage in an airport, or flights not taking off on time. Yes, we did have a pandemic, and that's true. And back in 1919 we had a pandemic as well, and then things changed after that, didn't they? They really did. Wasn't the same world after that. And yeah. So what am I getting at? Okay, I'm not a futurist, but I do love science fiction. And science fiction is a what if scenario. It's like, and it's taking what we have now and say, well, what if this? What's that going to look like in the future? Okay. Excuse me, I have to scratch my nose because it's itchy, not because I'm telling a lie. I watch these people who do all these, like they watch facial movements and expressions and everything and say, oh, well, scratch your nose, you're telling a lie. No, actually, I have a really itchy nose. Okay. That or I'm going to kiss a fool. They say if you have an itchy nose, you're going to kiss a fool. Anyway, so here we go. Um, we know that we have climate change right now. It's evident. We obviously have things are happening on the planet. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And we do have, this is going to be the year 2023 of getting rid of plastics. And so the plastics experiment failed. Okay. When I was a kid in the 1950s and 60s, we didn't have as much plastic. We didn't have as much disposable stuff. I mean, I remember at the end of our driveway in our house, we had one little tin can of garbage. My grandfather collected string and paper bags and elastics and whatever. We didn't throw anything out, we reused it. So we were really a reduce, reuse, recycle generation. But somewhere along the line there, we got into the convenience generation, and our convenience has become very inconvenient for the planet because it's causing problems. And I know that our Prime Minister Trudeau just went out to Saskatchewan this past week to talk with a company to produce the batteries required for electric cars. And good, I'm going to say good on Prime Minister Trudeau for using our natural resources here in Canada, because we are resource rich. Yes, we are resource rich in oil and gas. And that is something that has brought us into the modern era, has provided so many things for us, for our conveniences, and to get us around, And you think about jet fuel, we wouldn't be traveling the way we are if it weren't for petroleum products. And they have served us well in many, many ways, but have also been a problem as well. So as we see things grinding almost not to a halt, but it's almost as if we know that countries have gotten together to talk about the climate change agenda, and what needs to be done, to reduce carbon. But it's not so much the carbon. It's the just the emissions, the bad, the VOCs, the horrible emissions that go into the air, that are causing problems, pollution, whatever, climate change. But okay, so I'm not a scientist. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that we've been here before, where there's been drastic change, and it's like kind of like when you're going to demolish an old building. It's been around for years, and there's rubble everywhere, and you think, oh my gosh. And you look at that old building. Like, I just passed a building downtown yesterday. I went, oh, it was on Bloor Street, and it was like, oh my goodness, look at it. It's all rubble. This beautiful old building from, a century and a half ago. It's going to be replaced by something, maybe a condominium. But we do need housing, affordable housing, right? So, but I realized after the rubble is cleared and after a new building goes up, it's beautiful again, and it's modern and it's efficient, and that's where we are now. We're going to be sitting, perhaps, this is just my idea, we're going to be sitting in the rubble of our society very soon. We're starting to see breakdown of what used to be. Unfortunately, the things that our institutions are breaking down, like health, schools, government, certainly our how we fuel our cars, and how we operate our machinery. A lot of things are changing, but what if, though, just look into the future a little bit, what if we're going to see some drastic changes like we saw at the beginning of the 20th century, where things move so fast, within 100 years. Look, I'm sitting here in front of a television. I don't have a television. I gave my television away because I use my phone. I use my computer. I don't need that television anymore. That's going to be gone the way of the dodo bird maybe very soon. Who knows, cable, TV, all of that kind of stuff. So whatever we were used to functioning in our lives, just chickadee-boo, it's coming to an end. You can see it all around us, like things collapsing, breaking down. And I do believe that we're going to have some astounding, exciting changes within, I'm hoping, my own lifetime. I'm hoping that within my lifetime, I kind of want to see flying cars. And I know they're working on them in the Nevada desert, because I used to work doing transcripts for Foolish Earthling Productions, and this is for Michael Lennick, and he was going down to the Nevada area, and I still have the DVD of the transcript I did of these scientists who are working on flying cars, and that was like 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. So you can imagine how far they've come since then. We have the driverless cars. When it comes to travel, like air travel, who wants to travel? I don't want to get in an airplane again. I really don't. I don't want to do any air travel. If I'm going to lose my luggage, I just don't want that to be a part of my life. I just don't want to be there. But fuel, like during COVID, we noticed with the reduced air traffic and traffic in general, that what we thought would only get cleaned up in maybe another generation got cleaned up in about 6 months. Like the air was cleaner, the water was cleaner, things were quieter, and it was in a way, it was, we were locked down. That was not beautiful. COVID's not beautiful, but there were some very positive things that came out of that. And I was kind of just thinking about the future, and I thought, what if instead of air travel, it's hover travel, flying car travel, like, but without gas propulsion, some other kind of propulsion, and is it in the works, and is it coming to fruition? We know, I took a hovercraft from Dover to Boulogne, like in 1981, but the whole idea of hover technology, or just being able to even just over the surface of the water, surface of the ocean, to get to the other side, you know, with a hover vehicle rather than with an airplane. Wouldn't that be cool? You know, instead of ships. Um, you know, we go back. I know we can't go back to sails. We really needed the steam engine, but there's got to be something else in the works, and I'm hoping that all of a sudden we're going to be inundated with new technology, and certainly with AI and robotics and things like that. A lot of jobs, unfortunately, too, that people are doing now will be replaced by robotics. But what about people? What are we going to be doing? How are we going to live our lives? How are we going to make a better world? You know, we're here to do tikkun olam, and that in Jewish is to really to repair the world. That's what we're here to do, to repair the world, to make it a better place. So how do we repair the world when the world is suffering, you know, the way it is, you know, with pollution and violence and war? How do we do this? And how do we make it so that each community is sustainable? We need to make sustainable communities, really, if we're going to get past where we are now and go into, we're here in the 21st century, to take us into the 22nd century. How are we going to enter that? You know, and I think we can make strides faster than we did in the 20th century. And I think what's happening is, you know, all those countries that got together to discuss climate change, you know, I mean, they have in-camera meetings. They can't tell the public everything that they're talking about, but you know, to have Trudeau going to Saskatchewan to discuss, you know, making batteries for electric cars, and Premier Legault in Quebec has said, you know, by 2035, and I think he revised it to 2050, there'll be no gas-powered cars at all in Quebec. No English either, but that's not such a good thing. He's a bit strident in, you know, the CAC. Anyway, I won't go there. I will not go down that dark road. I'm very much part of the French Canadian culture. My family goes back to Hochelaga. I actually, I was saying to my cousin today, I wonder how long it's going to be before people realize that Montreal is Montréal and royal is in the name, and they go say, it's colonization, we got to get rid of the royal name and put it back to Hochelaga. I actually have relatives who had their birth certificates that said Hochelaga. But the point is that I think we're going to be seeing some changes around a lot of things. Anyway, I'm excited about it. I don't know why. I mean, I see that there's a lot of crumbling going on in our society, and we're holding on tightly to the past. We're hanging on to what we know. I mean, I'm 67, you know, like it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And for sure, you know, I love the old days, and I often walk down memory lane and I'm writing stories about my childhood and things like that. What my grandparents taught me, my parents, what I learned in school. But it's different now. I mean, kids aren't even being taught how to do cursive writing anymore. If they, you know, my daughter taught my grandson how to write his signature. That's not going to be necessary in the future, apparently. I don't know how they're going to read cursive writing when they see these ancient documents from us. But anyway, it's another thing, isn't it, really? So, good things are coming. I really do believe that. We're at the precipice of great change. So how do we enter that? Well, we have to be aware of people around us in need. We have to help each other. We have to think about, okay, we're in a pickle right now. How are we going to make sure that we have enough food to eat in the meantime? Jobs, sustenance, you know, how do we pay the rent? How do we get around? How do we help each other in the meantime while this change is taking place? Because it is taking place. There's no turning back. There really isn't. We have no power as far as that's concerned. We're in a society that's changing very quickly, a world that's changing quickly, and it's changing globally. Whereas, it's not just going to be, it's going to be felt in deepest, darkest parts of the world. Nowhere is going to be untouched. Nowhere. So get ready for hover vehicles, flying vehicles, for paper bags or bags that are made out of some kind of fibers that are natural. And our clothing as well. All the clothes that's made up from oil products. That's going to have to change too. A lot of things. We're going to be going back to natural fibers or plant fibers. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, we already have bamboo, things made out of bamboo and cotton. Yeah, pick a bale of cotton. Okay. And the other thing that's going to happen is we're going to have to bring the pendulum back into the center for people to tolerate and enjoy each other's company again. First, we're going to have to tolerate it because a lot of people don't like each other very much. And we're going to have to get past skin color. We're going to have to get past race, religion, politics. We're going to have to get past all of it. Okay? We're making a point of it now. Okay? You're who you are. I'm who I am. You don't like who I am. I don't like who you are. That happens. But we've got to start seeing our what we share in common, rather what we don't share. And that, I think, is going to be very, very, very key to our progress in the future, because we have to see what we have that we can give to each other, how we can teach each other. And we have to do it peacefully, like Gandhi did. Gandhi was a peaceful man. Peaceful protest. Peaceful means. Mother Teresa, she helped one person at a time. Go one person at a time. I met someone the other day on the street. I'll just end with this little story. I know it's been a rambling one, but there was a young man on the street. I'll say he was Asian, and he had these rock doves, pigeons, all the way around him. I didn't see him feeding them, but they were all around him at this bus shelter. And I said, wow, I said, you really love the rock doves, the pigeons. I said, they came over with the sailors from the old world, and they brought them as food and as carrier pigeons or whatever, to the new world. He said, yeah, he said, I did a whole presentation in high school, my last year of high school. And I said, wow, that's really wonderful. And he said, and then he noticed a keychain I had hanging from my purse and had a menorah on it. He said, I see you're Jewish. And I said, yeah, I am. He says, I'm Jewish too. He says, I was adopted by a Jewish couple. I said, that's wonderful. And he said, I said, what's your name? And he said, Tikkun. I said, wow, like Tikkun Olam. He said, yeah. He says, my mom said when she adopted me, she helped to repair the world. And me being her son has helped to repair her world. And I thought, isn't that beautiful? So maybe what we can do as a starter, okay, is to see how each of us can repair another person's world. There's an awful lot of, excuse me, there's awful lot of emphasis on fixing our own world and our own problems and everything that's going on with us. And you hear the sirens in the back. That's a good thing. Someone's being helped, right? But instead of focusing on ourselves, let's focus on other people. One hand helping the other. I scratch your back, you scratch mine, that kind of thing. And to do things without expectation of receiving. To do it just because you're doing it. It's the right thing to do, right? And we can repair the world very, very simply, one small thing at a time. Even if it means you're walking down the street and you smile at someone, you say hi. Or like I did with that young man on the street, talking to him, I had a great day that day. I met so many people. I smiled at them, I talked to them, and don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to talk to them. Don't be afraid to find out what people need. And another thing that I encourage is giving to charity, because right now people need to eat. If you have them, they need housing. They need all kinds of things. So if you can help somebody through a local charity, food bank, mission, whatever, your shul, your church, wherever, your mosque, wherever you are, um, do it. Reach out and touch someone. Okay. So let me think. This is Joyce just talking, just singing. I'm already at 20 minutes. But you know what? That's okay. So I'm going to sing, them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless the child who's got his own. And the strong seem to get more, while the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade, 'cause you know your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless the child who's got his own, who's got his own. And when you got money, you got lots of friends crowding around your door. But when the money's gone and all your spending ends, they won't be round anymore. Well, your rich relations may condescend to give you a crust of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't you take too much, 'cause you know your mama may have, and your papa may have, but God bless the child who's got his own, who's got his own, yeah. Da-dum. Let's make sure we each have our own, and what we have, we share. That's what we gotta do, start sharing. And because, as my granddaughter Eliane says, sharing is caring. That's what she wants, something from you that you have that she wants, but that's okay. Sharing is caring. So thanks very much for joining me again on Joyce Just Talking, Just Singing, and 42, Answer to Life, the Universe, and Everything. Bye for now. Signing out.